Welcome, everybody. As always, if you'd like to add your name to the agenda to sign in, please do. If you have anything you'd like to discuss, please add it to the agenda. The one thing I'll ask in advance, if anybody was at FOSDEM, I'd love to hear some updates later on for how that went. Any relevant talks, that'd be great. Thanks, Tracy. All right. I guess kicking things off, were there any updates for services or clients that anybody wanted to give?
I'm about to cut a new cosign release in the next 2 hours, so imminent, but nothing substantial.
And I guess it's worth noting that there have also been releases for Fulcio and Recore recently. There's been a member of the community that's been doing a great job helping to drive down the version of Go that's specified in the Go mod files for some of the Go clients and the services. Learned a lot about this process. So we cut a few new releases, lowering down the required version to 1.22. So this should hopefully ease adoption if you use any of the APIs available in the services or in the clients. And then I think for Recore, there's a few features that we added relevant to sharding. So take a look at the changelog if you're curious. It looks like we've also had a release of Sigstore Go. Cody, was there anything you wanted to mention there?
There were a number of changes. We actually hadn't had a release since September, so there were some breaking changes, and we're hoping, I think this might be the last release before Sigstore Go 1.0. So pretty big release. Their notes are listed there, obviously with a lot of breaking changes.
Awesome, thanks for the update. So if you're using Sigstore Go, please update and give it a try. Let us know if you have any feedback. The other thing I wanted to update on, we did a new release of the Tough Fruits. I think this is now our 11th Tough Fruits. There was an incompatibility with Sigstore RS. So if you're using Sigstore RS, it is likely not going to be able to be updated to the latest Tough Fruit. I've left an issue with more information in it. We're working on publishing a new Tough Fruit update, but just as a reminder that Sigstore RS is not a 1.0 client yet. It's not stable. There will be bugs like this. So if we would recommend, if you're using Sigstore RS in a production environment, to reevaluate the available clients. And if you do have a use case where you need to be using Rust, please do reach out and let's chat a little bit more. Paul, were there any other updates around infrastructure?
I don't have anything, but it looks like Tracy might have added something for the docs.
Yeah, just there's a pull request fixing up one of the spec docs, just doing things like correcting links and pointing to the updated threat model. So it's available for input from folks.
Awesome, thanks, Tracy. Were there any other project updates? I guess one thing to celebrate, if I can quickly find a blog post for it. Maven Central just published a blog post discussing its integration with Sigstore and specifically Sigstore Java. If anyone happens to have a link, feel free to drop that in, but otherwise I'll find that momentarily. Here we go. I guess we can probably put a adoption of Sigstore category. So congrats to Sonatype for getting that added. Alrighty, I guess for FOSDEM updates, Tracy, or anybody else attended as well, would you like to give an update?
Yeah, happy to. Yeah, it was pretty fun. Yeah, like all FOSDEMs, very busy, lots of chatting with folks. Security dev room was yeah, pretty popular, so it was hard to get into talks. That being said, Frederick had his talk right at the end of the day. I think it was something like 6:30, but there's still plenty of people who showed up for that. So his talk went really well, and there were lots of questions, and you could see from the questions afterwards, people are super interested, have generally heard of Sigstore, and they're just trying to figure it out. There was, yeah, even someone who mentioned he was looking at doing Sigstore for Erlang and Elixir, so had a brief chat with him, and he's sort of started off with the documents, but I've told him to come find us in Slack or even email if he needs any help. But yeah, general impressions, lots of conversations, not just on Sigstore, but also the wider space of transparency, tile logs and witness networks. So there's a bunch of folks from the transparency community also discussing moving some of that stuff forward. Overall, I'd say also getting that general feedback that I think others have heard, that we need more kind of telling the story from the user perspective. So people who are using Sigstore, just helping them understand what it gives them, what it doesn't give them. I had fielded a bunch of conversations with folks one-to-one about machine identity. So they're pretty intrigued by the fact things are being signed by machine identity, but then wanting to know, okay, what does that mean? What is the machine identity? What does it say and what does it not say? But yeah, I think Frederick's talk went a long way to speak in detail about different things, and also get a slide sort of covering kinds of threats that Sigstore helps address. So maybe, yeah, I'll be looking forward to having that talk out and sharing that, and anything more we can do. Just talking from the user perspective, I think will go a long way. But yeah, in general, lots of good energy around the whole space, and people pretty interested in Sigstore and broader transparency.
Awesome. Thanks for the update. Alrighty. Was there anything else for outreach or events anyone wanted to discuss? Alrighty. Well, now we come to the office hours portion. Looks like there's a question about recore configuration.
Yeah, that was me. I flagged this in the Slack channel for Sigstore Go, and I believe Zach suggested this could be good to discuss over the community call as well. Basically, I noticed that Sigstore Go dropped support for online lookups of during verification with Sigstore, and I was curious what the plan is for cases where the recore public key is configured using an environment variable, which is supported currently by cosign and getsign as well, and how other clients should handle these scenarios.
So I guess to start, these are two separate issues. So, and let me know if I'm misunderstanding, but the configuration of your environment to verify entries from Recore or certificates as well from Fulcio is, I think, independent of online lookups. So the former would be you want an alternative to using Tough to fetch the Recore public key or the Fulcio certificate. And that should still be supported in Sigstore Go. So one thing to note here is with Sigstore Go, there was a decision made that anything to do with the environment would be pushed up a layer to whoever's integrating with Sigstore Go. So for example, cosign can continue to support different ways of fetching material. But one other thing to note is that we no longer are going to support specifying individual keys or certificates for the roots of trust, and instead you're going to have to provide a trusted root file. So
Got it. That
you can still, yes,
question.
that might have been the difference, that it should still be possible to provide your own key, if you don't want to use tough, you just have to now put it into a trusted root file, and that is either provided via the API or via an environment or a environment variable referencing the path to that.
Gotcha. Yeah, that is clarified, and you're right. There were two slightly different issues, and the problem that we're facing in our current proof of concept instance is we aren't using the trusted root format, and we can't populate the start of trust timestamp for it. But I think we can probably reconcile that and just move over to that format rather than continue to, do the online verification. So, cool.
Awesome. That's great to hear. And I guess just for posterity's sake, for anyone else who's taking a look at this, what we mean by online lookups is that the information that you have locally is incomplete, and you're not able to verify a recore entry without going to the log. And this can mean a couple different things. This can mean looking up an entry in the log in its search index, or this can mean not persisting the inclusion proof locally and requesting the inclusion proof by an entry hash. This is something we've been removing from clients because now with Sigstore's bundle format, this includes inclusion proofs. Inclusion proofs should be required. And this is also somewhat to help with the transition to Recore v2, where we won't have lookups by hash available. It'll just be lookups by index, which is really just meant for those who are monitoring the log. And for what it's worth too, every other client except Go and Cosign did not support online lookups anyways. So this is, again, conforming to other clients as well. So if you have a use case where you are doing online lookups, feel free to reach out over Slack and we can chat a bit more about alternatives. I would also say that this is both a privacy improvement and a performance improvement, because one, there's no reason that the log needs to know every time you're going to verify a binary, and two, or an attestation, and two, for performance, now your verification can be entirely offline, or at least partially offline, assuming that sometimes you have to go refresh your local tough cache. So overall, I think this is a good thing. Awesome. Thanks for raising that question. All right, there's another question about sign and verify with OCI and the trusted root file.
Yeah, that's mine. So I've seen a lot of trusted, but it seems that trusted root is always in connection, mentioned this connection with the new bundle format. But if you just sign in and verify in the regular Docker or OCI images, can you do like cosign, verify, and then pass trusted root?
Yeah, this is coming. If you take a look at some of the open, so I guess to specifically answer your question, we have coupled the verification of a bundle format with trusted root. And this is for a few reasons. I think there's an issue out where we discussed this a little bit more, but part of it is just a consequence of cosign. There's a lot there. And if we try to refactor this such that we want to plug in the trusted root while continuing to support the current format of passing metadata to be verified, it gets really messy to try to support that. So our goal is to kind of uplift all of cosign at once to both persist bundle formats in OCI and verify them with trusted root. I believe there's a few PRs out right now to do this for attestations, and then there's an issue as well, which I can find. Cody, maybe you have this as well, that proposes how we'll store signatures to be verified in OCI using a bundle format with the trusted root.
So the OCI image signatures, the format of signatures changes, right? So it will be a different data or different format of the signature.
Yes, that's the proposal right now. And one of the other things we'll include is migration tooling to make it easier to translate between the two. There's nothing that should be incompatible with one another. It's just how you want to shape the data. So potentially it's something that we can also add later to automatically merge or unmerge these bundle formats. But for right now, we'd like to try to centralize solely around the bundle format, at least at the API layer of Cosign.
Okay, thanks.
I don't know, Cody, if you had anything else you wanted to add.
I was just going to link to 3889, which is the PR that's in draft for adding support for signing and verifying images using trusted root and bundle. That PR has been, going through a lot of iterations. There's been some stuff that's split off of it. But right now there's another PR open, let's see, related to a refactor, which is 4013. And so these things are in flight. After 4013 is merged, then I think we'll have a pretty clear path for 3889, which will enable a future version of Cosign to do all this stuff natively. So yeah, feel free to reach out to me if you have any more questions about it. Yeah, like you mentioned also in the notes, there is an example in Sigstore Go, in the Sigstore Go repo in the examples folder that kind of shows how to verify classic cosign signed container images with the trusted root, but that's not really a path we're going to continue to support. We will be using strictly the new protobuf bundle support or protobuf bundle format for any like new development.
Would it be worth to add in Sigstore Go an example of generating the new format signature?
For container images, we want to keep that mostly in Cosign because Cosign is really where we want that tooling to live. That's where we want the dependency tree for like the dependencies that are needed for interacting with registries. We want to keep those in Cosign. So that's part of the reason we have them in just an example in Sigstore Go. We'd obviously welcome new examples in Sigstore Go, but that code should be like living in Cosign longer term.
What's your position on using the Sigstore Cosign as a library? So is it only for the command line tool, or is it okay when people import those as use it as a library, or this is not intended usage?
I don't know if I can speak for that completely. Hayden might have some thoughts. I know that we kind of the Go API for Cosign is, I think, officially unsupported, meaning like changes could happen there that to that
your build, that's not compatible.
Yeah, so maybe one way to look at this is if we jump forward, let's say a year or so, right? So Cosign is usable as an API, but there's user experience issues, I would say, that unless you're really well versed in Sigstore and in Cosign, it makes it a little bit hard to use. And we've tried to iron a lot of those out with Sigstore Go. So again, I think if we like jump forward a year, what I'd love to see in the ecosystem of users who are using the Go libraries, Sigstore Go is used to sign blobs, to sign attestations, and Cosign is used as an API to sign containers. Git sign is used as an API to sign Git commits. So Sigstore Go is what many users who, if you don't need containers, you should use Sigstore Go, and if you need containers, you would use Cosign. That would be my hope going forward.
Okay. Because we use it as a library because we don't need many things in Cosign and sometimes need some custom things. So I'm trying to figure out like where I should guide the team and my own efforts, whether we should use Sigstore Go or the Cosign as the library on which we would build. So
if you need containers,
for the signing and verification of signatures on the OCI images, and also for the attestation and verifying attestations.
Cosign would be easiest to use. The downside, of course, is Cosign comes with a lot of dependencies. This was, again, one of the goals of Sigstore Go to reduce dependencies. And this is where like something like this example that you linked might be sufficient. Though again, it won't really. These examples aren't meant to be featureful. It's more meant to kind of spark conversation.
What we currently do, at least as the kind of proof of concept, we use Sigstore Go to verify images. That seems to work fine for us, and we use cosign code base for producing the signatures.
Yeah, I think that would be fine, and that's actually kind of how I look at, again, like if you look at things like cosign and getSign, cosign has a specification for how to turn a container manifest into a hash to be signed, and then you can imagine, again, if we like fast forward a year, Sigstore goes what signs that. I can see the same thing with getSign, that getSign knows how to turn a git commit into something to be signed, and then also in both those cases, the persistence of that verification metadata too. So if you're using some parts of cosign that are responsible for the OCI bits, and then using Sigstore Go for signing verification, I think that actually kind of sounds like the best of both worlds. And then again, our goal will be eventually all of cosign. The cosign will exclusively contain the logic necessary to sign and verify, where it again will delegate to Sigstore Go for signing and verification.
Okay, great. Thanks. That's very helpful.
Awesome. Were there any other questions? Anything anyone else wanted to discuss? Great. Well, I hope everybody has a great day, a great week, and I'll see you all around online.
Thanks, Aiden. Bye.
Thanks all.